Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying for Beginners with Jim Misiura. Today I'm going to tie a March Brown, a tungsten bead March Brown cruncher. The hook that I have in a vise is this is a size 10. This is actually a dry fly hook. This is a Mustad 94840. Size 10, but it's really heavy, so using it as a nymph hook is not going to be any detriment. I have a 3mm dark tungsten bead on there. I'm going to use orange thread, and this is 6/0 orange thread. We're going to put a base of thread down, bring it back to the bend of the hook. But recently in Pennsylvania, most streams in Pennsylvania have been kind of high. We've been getting a lot of rain here in Pennsylvania, and I had encountered a March Brown hatch, and I used a regular cruncher, and I did well with it, this same cruncher, but I also had to put quite a bit of weight on there to get it so the fish would bite. So we're going to make a tungsten bead cruncher. This is going to be a heavier fly. We're going to start with pheasant tail center, and I'm taking about 10 fibers from the pheasant tail, and we're going to tie that for the tail. On the smaller crunchers, I like to use a furnace hackle for the tail, but for this big one, I'm going to use the pheasant tail fibers for the tail. I'm just going to tie that in. Just give it about 3 wraps, then fold this back and put a couple more wraps right on top of that. That's going to be the body. Now for the rib, I have this is a 26 gauge wire, and this comes from any craft store. You get like a dozen different colors. And we're going to tie that in. I'm going to tie that in the length of the hook. I actually put it inside the bead. And the reason I'm tying it in the whole length is because of the thickness. With the thickness, I didn't want to make a step, so this wire will keep it even, keep the body even all the way up. And we're going to bring that up top. And we're going to stop that up by the bead. The distance that the pheasant tail will determine where exactly we stop, but it's going to be really close to the bead. Make sure I catch it right on the edge there. Give it a couple of wraps to start, and then we're going to give it a couple of wraps as we go also to keep that. There we go, a little better. Keep that pheasant tail from splaying out on us. And this one, it probably looks like I'm going to need 2 of them on this, because this one isn't real long. Yep. So I'm going to stop this, tie this in where it's at. Give that a couple of wraps, and I'm going to take my hackle pliers off. Now I'm going to trim this just a little bit, and I'm going to tie the rest of that down, and that will once again help keep a levelness, but it also make the front of that fly just a little bit fatter, so we're kind of making a taper there. Coming back on it slightly. And we'll take some more of the pheasant tail fibers. Grab another 10 or so. If you get a pheasant tail with really long barbels on it, then that is obviously going to be much better. I'm going to take those tips off there. I'm going to tie that back in. And bring that forward once again. Try to keep that as level as I could. Just build up a little bit of thread there. We're going to put our hackle pliers on there once again and give that a twist. Now when you're putting one to the other, you have to make sure that you don't want to see the thread underneath there. There we go. We got a little bit of a fatter body there, and just about every twist you have to, every turn around, you can see that it flattened out right there. Every turn around you have to go and twist that hackle pliers again. I'm going to tie that in. See, we got a little bit fatter body. I don't really think that it's going to matter a whole lot if you had the pheasant tail fibers to go all the way to the front, having that one, because this is going to be fished more or less like a wet fly, except we're going to fish this dead drift like that March brown is emerging. Now I'm taking the rib and I'm counter wrapping it, being the opposite direction that I wrapped everything. And we're going to bring that up, and by counter wrapping it, it gives a better lock on the pheasant tail fibers. And we're going to bring that up. This wire is pretty stiff, so I don't need to actually hold the wire as much as if you had a fine wire. If you let go of the fine wire, it would just unravel on you. We'll put a few wraps on there, then we're going to helicopter this off. I'm going to clean up that head area there a bit. And now we're going to take a furnace hackle. Furnace hackle being so called because you got coal and fire. And you can see I gave it a little bit of a crew cut. I'm going to trim just a little bit more off. You only need a couple of them to hold that. And once again, having that, trimming that, giving you that crew cut, it helps that it's not going to pull out. If you had a bare stem there, you have a much better chance of it pulling out on you. Kind of bring all of them to one side if you can. I'm going to put my hackle pliers on it again. And then we're going to wrap this. Like I said, this worked very well as a March brown emerger. Now you can see at the front, there's actually a couple of fibers that are going, a couple of barbels that are going towards the front at the top of the, because I didn't get that fold all the way up to the top. But what we're going to do is just grab everything and hold them towards the rear there. Put a couple of wraps over this. Now I'm just going to pull everything towards the rear. We're going to tie the head off. Just lost another one. There we go. And we're going to come back on that hackle just one thread width. Got one more there that's being stubborn. And then we can remove this excess hackle. And I got one that's sticking out front. I'm going to hold them back and get them. There we go. Yep, I got one more that's sticking out towards the front. If he wants to be that stubborn, I'm going to put him to the fire. There we go. Take our whip finisher. I think one of the keys with this imitating the March Brown is the orange head. Even in the fly shop that I visited, they had March Brown emergers, and it was pretty close to this, but the orange, they had orange dubbing behind the hackle. But I think this is a lot simpler here. We're going to put a little bit of head cement on there. And just go ahead, and lots of room, so I'm going to go all the way around with it. And here we have a tungsten bead March Brown cruncher. Hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Please visit my sponsors. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.